Hi, everybody. This is Dave again, and this is the second part of my drone strike podcast. Right now, I thought of doing a cool little thing, like kind of like a Q&A type thing with my roommate. He's been listening to me talk about disability in the Middle East and how it relates to drone strikes, and he had a few questions to ask. So, I thought this would be a cool way to educate people on drone strikes and also help John understand what's going on with these drone strikes.
All right, so Dave, I've been hearing you talk a lot about this, about your topic of like drone strikes and in general and disabilities. But I was firstly wondering why are you talking about drone strikes? Why are they important to talk about?
They are important to talk about because this is probably like one of the new leading causes of disability and deaths in the Middle East, and people seem to be in the shadows on this subject, and it's such a big reason that all these people, like I said, are getting disabilities, and all we hear about from the Middle East is terrorism, violence, and war. That's all we hear from there. We don't get to see things through people in the Middle East's eyes. And I feel like this topic really shows how inhumane these drone strikes are. And we really need to inform the American people of what we are doing to these people, because I feel like this isn't a fair representation of us as citizens of the United States. And that's how we reflect like we're bullies pretty much to the Middle East.
Okay, that's interesting. So I guess my second question kind of goes into if there are so many of these like negative outcomes from drone strikes, why are we using them? I mean, I hear sometimes on TV how they're effective, but why are we using them if there's so many negative outcomes?
We are using these pretty much just because of two reasons only. It's because they say it's the most accurate way of neutralizing a terrorist threat or even just killing a target. And we've used drone strikes, they said, in a few sources I looked at, to kill about 95% of the terrorist threats. And also, this is a good way, they say, of keeping people that are in the military from being disabled and not getting killed. Those are the two main reasons why we do this.
That sounds like a good reason. I mean, I know you're a disability studies major, and I know there's a lot of people that become disabled because of war, and especially in the United States, our veterans come back with post-traumatic stress disorders, and we also think of individuals with mostly when I think about a disabled veteran, I think of someone that's had like someone that's had an amputee done, or who's an amputee and is having physical restrictions upon them. What are there any? So isn't in fact drone strikes helping us, helping the United States government from having less people with disabilities in the military?
This is not entirely true. I've been looking at a lot of sources lately that I didn't get to look at from the first podcast because I really wanted to look into more on how these drone strikes are affecting U.S. soldiers that are controlling these drones. And what I found is that there's a very, very high rate of people that are controlling these drones that are getting this new form of PTSD, which is, it's called, I think it's like far combat post-traumatic stress. So it's pretty much just like they're seeing all these horrible things just happen on a little screen that's thousands of miles away from them, and it's really affecting people that are in the military right now. In a few articles I read, it's about how many people are quitting being a drone operator just because of all these horrible things that they're seeing, and it's leading to drug use just to try to get rid of the guilt that they feel. They've even talked about like even seeing themselves killing kids, and they talk about how they consider these kids fun-sized terrorists, and all they're doing is just mowing the grass pretty much before it gets too long, and they're just trying to find ways to desensitize away from these strikes, but it's just causing more pain. So record numbers of people are quitting their jobs because of all this heavy burden that falls on them, controlling these things, all the devastation they cause.
That's interesting because, like, I mentioned earlier, I perceive most people that are disabled veterans as people with physical disabilities, but you don't really you sometimes forget to think about those with emotional disabilities like PTSD. So now that we've seen that, like, kind of how the negative sides of drone strikes for us, for the individuals in the United States military, what are the perceived benefits of drones within their intended use? Do they really help, destroy our enemy? And are there any positives? And what are the positives of using drones within the military? I guess is what I'm trying to ask.
Using drones within the military.
Yeah.
These literally the two reasons why we do use them. It does not help at all. From multiple sources that I've looked at, they've said that 90% of the time we don't even hit the target that we intend to hit. So there's only a 1 in 10 shot that we are going to hit a target that we need to neutralize. Instead, it's hitting a bunch of innocent people, and these bombs could kill and injure up to about 33 people, maybe even more, if they're in a high concentrated area.
At one time. Wow, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Wow, so they're really that ineffective. That's awful. I mean, like, I think we were talking about earlier about how if a batter had a 0.10% chance of hitting the ball, it'd be awful. It'd be fired.
Yeah, they would be fired. And also, what I forgot to talk about too is how inaccurate these things are, and people in the Middle East are seeing how inaccurate these things are, and causing so much devastation that they've actually went to the UN and told the United States. The UN told the United States how inhumane these things are, and they're not working. So what's the point of even using them? And they told them to stop using them, and they refused to listen to the UN.
That's wild. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So now that we've kind of heard what their intended use is, I know you're a disability studies major. So, like, how does disability rights or disability culture interact with drones within the Middle East, within their intended use? So,
okay. So you're pretty much just asking how does this affect people that are becoming disabled from these drones?
Yes.
In the Middle East. These are affecting people in big ways. First of all, they do not have the right resources to help people with physical disabilities to live in these countries. And also, they are looked at as second-class citizens, people with physical disabilities. They have pretty much no rights, and they pretty much have all their rights pretty much depend on the family and how everything's ran. women, they have a lot less rights compared to men with this physical disabilities, and women are mainly kept in the house and don't get to experience much socializing at all. And this is a big problem. And then that doesn't even include all the mental health problems that come along with seeing some of these tragic deaths, family members getting blown up, people in their family getting disfigured because of these bombs, and they see it. And this is a heavy burden on people. And most of the statistics that we see from these drone strikes are physical disabilities, injuries, which are I've seen in many sources, and we don't get the right numbers because the government isn't releasing the right numbers they are talking about, and they are very low key on the civilians that this is hurting. But it's injuring between 1,000 to 3,000, anywhere in between those numbers, and it's a pretty big differential. And this is just in Pakistan alone.
Wow, just Pakistan alone.
Yeah, just Pakistan alone. And also, this doesn't talk about people with a mental disability and mental health problems coming along with these. Because, I mean, it may physically affect these drones about 33 people. But still, you got to think about the mental side of things, like I was saying earlier in this question. And it's really affecting people.
That's interesting.
It's tons of PTSD from seeing all these things, and then adding on all the other wars, like Pakistan and Israel, like the conflicts that they have going on, and adding all these other conflicts that all these Middle Eastern countries are seeing. It's really hurting these people, and especially people in refugee camps, like we were talking about earlier.
That's really interesting. So not only does, just like we were talking about the U.S. soldiers that have served in the military, we perceive physical disabilities more so than the mental or emotional side of disabilities. And just like that, how our common association is, we're in Pakistan, they're only taking into account people with physical disabilities rather than mental disabilities, because it is harder to perceive, harder to find, and also within these countries, kind of, I imagine that they're a little bit, their perception of mental disabilities are different as well. I guess my next question has to go with, so now that we've, kind of wrapped up all this information of why drone strikes are, relevant to disability culture or disability rights, is there anything else that you want myself or other people listening to this podcast to know about drone strikes, or anything in general?
What I would just really like people to know is, like, just keep a little closer eye on what's going on with these drone strikes. I mean, we need people to be more informed on what is going on in the Middle East and what our country's doing. Because, I mean, that affects all of us, and we don't really think about that. And also, just probably pay attention to more to disabilities in the Middle East a little bit. Because, I mean, these people are being mistreated and stuff. And drone strikes are causing a lot more people with disabilities physically and mentally. And we just need to be more aware of all these topics that I'm kind of like all putting into one. And I think that's about it for what our Q&A. I got a song here, and it kind of ties into like what I'm talking about, how people need to be more aware of what's going on in these countries that are our country's going to war kind of with, but not entirely. We're just devastating a country and not being informed or not paying attention.
and creating more problems at the same time, right?
Yeah, and I think this just ties in perfectly with what we have been talking about. So here you go.
It's so loud inside my head with words that I should have said as I drown in my regrets. I can't take back the words I never said.
Terror, it's a bunch of bullshit. Just a poor excuse for you to use up all your bullets. How much money does it take to really make a full clip? 9/11 building 7, did they really pull it? And a bunch of other cover-ups. Your child's future was the first to go with budget cuts. If you think that hurts, then wait, here comes the uppercut. The school was garbage in the first place. That's on the up and up. Keep you at the bottom, but teach you with the upper crust. You get it, then they move it, so you never keeping up enough. If you turn on TV, all you see is a bunch of what the fuck. Do this, they ain't so-and-so. Blabbering about such and such, and that ain't Jersey Shore. Homie, that's the news. And these the same people supposed to be telling us the truth. Limbaugh is a racist. Glenn Beck is a racist. Gaza Strip was getting by Obama, didn't say shit. That's why I ain't vote for him. Next one either. I'm a part of the problem. My problem is I'm peaceful. And I believe in the people. Yeah!
It's so loud inside my head with words that I should have said as I drown in my regrets. I can't take back the words I never
Now we can say it ain't our fault if we never heard it, but if we know better, then we probably deserve it. Jihad is not holy war. Where's that in the worship? Murdering is not Islam, and you are not observant. And you are not a Muslim. Israel, don't take my side, cause look how far you pushed them. Walk with me into the ghetto, this where all the kush went. Complain about the liquor store, but what you drinking liquor for? Complain about the gloom, but when you pick a broom up, just listen in the pot, ain't gon' make it stop. A rebel in your doubts, ain't gon' make it out. If you don't become an actor, you'll never be a factor. Pills with million side effects, take them when the pain's felt. Wash them down with diet soda, killing off your brain cells. Crooked banks around the world, we're glad to give a loan today. So if you ever miss a payment, they can take your home away. Worse than all the violence. Fear is such a weak emotion, that's why I despise it. We scared of almost everything, afraid to even tell the truth. So scared of what you think of me, I'm scared of even telling you. Sometimes I'm like the only person I feel safe to tell it to. I'm locked inside a cell in me, I know that there's a gel in you. Consider this your belling out, so take a breath and hell a few. My screams is finally getting free, my thoughts is finally getting down.